Are you frustrated with your piano progress? You might be wasting hours on the wrong songs without even realizing it. In this video, I want to show you how choosing the right songs and pieces, choosing to focus on the right skills, can change everything. It can literally cut your piano learning time by a third. Many beginners tend to think to improve in piano, they just need to play their favorite pieces. But this approach can actually stall their progress. For example, this scenario happens more than I like, where I have a client that comes to me and they're kind of working on a piece like Rondo alla Turca. They're working on a piece like that in their very, very first year. A piece like Rondo alla Turca is probably, for the most part, too overwhelming for the beginner, in my opinion. It's like trying to run a marathon before you've learned how to walk. Conversely, you also don't want to just stick to overly simple songs like Chopsticks or Nursery Rhymes for too long, because they'll make you lose interest and they'll make you lose motivation. And let's not forget the random song choices. I have students that come in and sort of like selected for themselves a whole bunch of different levels and genres that have massive difficulty differences that creates a lot of gaps in their technique, their sight reading, and their coordination skills. Does any of this sound familiar to you? If so, please don't worry, you are not alone and there are ways to fix it. Let me give you 3 really valuable, actionable tips for you self-taught pianists out there if you really want to take your piano to the next level and you want to do it properly. Number 1, choose songs and pieces that match your current level. A well-chosen piano piece for you would be something that challenges you enough, stretches you enough, without causing you frustration. So for example, if you're a beginner, a piece like Minuet in G by Petzold or Bach is perfect. It teaches you how to do hand independence, teaches you how to do phrasing. I would much rather you spend time to master this one than something else like Rondo alla Turca. You have a much better return on investment if you worked on Minuet in G. Tip number 2 is to incorporate enjoyable but skill building repertoire. Obviously, when we all play piano, we want to play pieces we love. We're coming here and we're spending time on the piano because of some level of passion. So it's also important, like we can't just play pieces and play exercises and things of that nature just to improve. That's simply not enough. We also need to take care of that love part, that passion part, the part that makes us enjoy the music. So it's really important that you have a bit of a jukebox or a list of pieces that are enjoyable to play, but also keeps you motivated and keeps you learning things. Tip number 3 is to plan a gradual progression. I want you to think about your piano learning as climbing a staircase. Start with foundational pieces, then move on to intermediate ones, and then advanced ones. For example, a good kind of upper beginner piece might be something like Chopin's Prelude in E minor. Awesome piece. Works on your phrasing, works on a soft left hand, works on your pedal. Really important to not just kind of like jump around to any piece you like, but actually have a gradual progression that builds on your skill. Something that's enjoyable, but yet actually keeps you moving forward. If you're a self-taught pianist and you're unsure about what piece to play next, or how to start or build that progression for yourself, I recommend you to check out my Essential Piano Roadmap. So I've put together this free roadmap that helps beginners to know what skills they need in each level and what piece they should study to progress to each next level. Check it out in the description below. I want to give you now some, let's say, common suboptimal student examples and also their consequences. Case number 1 are students that play advanced pieces too early. So for example, a piece such as, let's say, Moonlight Sonata. Without a strong foundation in technique and hand coordination, tackling a piece that is above your weight class can lead to very bad habits like uneven playing or extreme tension in your wrist and your forearms. Case number 2 are students that avoid sight reading practice. Now this one I'm speaking really to myself here because this was my story. So these are the students that tend to prioritize and kind of like memorize everything rather than reading sheet music. I was definitely one of these people. So when I would, let's say, read sheet music for the first time, I would almost immediately try to commit it to memory simply so that I don't have to look at the sheet music after that because I hated it so much. And as I kept doing this, I did this for piece 1, piece 2, piece 3, piece 4, and I realized over time, I sort of like capped myself. I capped myself at a certain level because I didn't want to prioritize the skill of reading that would allow me to read, and expose myself to a lot more music. A little bit later in my journey, in that kind of like 7th and 8th year where I really took sight reading seriously, I did a bit of it every day. I realized my piano skill level increased by tenfold simply because I didn't fear reading sheet music anymore. I would sort of like whip out some Bach or Beethoven or Mozart or Chopin or whatever, and I would just read it, right? And instead of, let's say, taking 3 months to learn a certain song or piece, I would take, let's say, just 2 or 3 weeks. And that's speed to be able to like get a new piece, get it in my hands, learn it, and polish it, and actually get something up quite nicely within a short time. The effect was compounding, right? Because now, like, let's say in a year, rather than playing just 4 songs, I was actually playing 40 pieces. So imagine the amount of growth, right, in terms of technique and music theory knowledge, and of course sight reading as well. Each new piece you sight read builds that sight reading level, and you sight read each new thing a little bit quicker. So sight reading is crucial for learning pieces quickly. If you avoid it, you'll always struggle to learn new techniques, to learn new pieces, and that's a massive, massive disadvantage when it comes to piano progression. You must focus on your sight reading so that you're always kind of like exposing yourself to new material and growing from that. Case number 3 are students that stick to like really, really random choices. They basically pick pieces. They jump around different genres, different skill level without a plan. This creates massive skill gaps. So for instance, I have some students that get quite good at playing piano music, but unfortunately they have skipped on scales in arpeggios training. And so they'll struggle with like many, many different parts in advanced music that I sort of wonder why they struggle with. So it's really important to have that game plan, that sort of technical game plan where you know what you need to play in terms of pieces, you know what to do in terms of scales, arpeggios, what kind of exercises, what to do for sight reading, what to do for music theory. You kind of have to like water each bucket. Let me provide some solutions for you self-taught pianists. If you want to increase in your piano progression, you must take some time to work on your sight reading. And it's very, very simple. How do you do this? You just do it for 5-10 minutes every day. Okay, you can do it either at the start of your practice or at the end of your practice. Remember, sight reading is like the key that actually unlocks everything. Because once you know how to read music, once you don't fear these dots and lines on a page, you'll expose yourself to a lot more material. And as a result, you'll just improve simply because you're reading more and you're playing more. Solution number 2 is music theory. Understanding theory isn't just for music academics. It helps you to see patterns in music, patterns. I was speaking to one of my students this week, Andrew, and this guy's doing good. He's basically gone from a beginner level to playing intermediate level and advanced pieces in just 1 year. We were discussing about music theory. I told him, I've noticed that your music theory understanding has grown a lot. And he said something quite interesting. Andrew was telling me that he didn't exactly really realize how his music theory was improving, but he certainly felt this. He certainly felt that he could see more patterns in music. He could see more patterns when learning new songs. So for example, what I just played there. It sounds like a whole bunch of notes, right? I've probably played like 100 notes there. But to the intermediate and advanced player, all we see there are just 4 chords, right? It's 6, 4, 1, 5. And we see a bit of a pattern with the right hand. We see a bit of a pattern with the left hand. There are skills that we use, and there are kind of like these pattern recognition skills we use to process all these notes. So if you don't get the sense that you have this, you don't quite see much patterns in your music, and you tend to think it's all a little bit sort of random, then perhaps music theory is an area you need to increase in your skills in. And the last solution I have for you is technique. Technique is everything. So if you don't have your technique right, if you haven't practiced your Hanons, your scales and arpeggios, or your Schmidt, or certain etudes that develop your finger control, your hand coordination, it's very, very difficult to access the more intermediate and advanced pieces you want to play later on. So you also need a game plan on how to improve on your technique, right? How to play with less tension, how to play fast notes. When you focus on these 3 pillars, so sight reading, music theory and technique, then you're not just learning individual songs, you're actually building the foundation to play anything. So if you're ready to take the guesswork out of your piano journey, I suggest you to download my free roadmap. It's packed with curated recommendations, pieces, and tips to help you to master sight reading, theory, technique in a very step-by-step way. The link is in the description below. What piece are you working on right now? Let me know in the comments below. Ask any piano questions you like in the comments too. I'll catch you in the next video.